Hodgkin's disease some time ago in 1963. She was successfully treated for that. She graduated, after graduating, she did her undergraduate work in Wisconsin, and then she graduated from Antioch School of Law. She was admitted to the D.C. bar. She was the coordinator of the Karen Silkwood campaign and coalition for a non-nuclear world. All these activists, you know, I mean. She directed the Health and Energy Institute, working to compensate radiation victims and prevent food irradiation. She, in the 1990s, she became disabled by chronic fatigue immune deficiency syndrome, CFIDS, fibromyalgia, and daily migraine headaches. She became a cannabis grower to cope with a constant severe pain. And in August of 1999, her daughter summoned the police after a parental scolding. Kitty is going to tell us a little about that experience.
Who killed Karen Silkwood. And we've had some of the readers suggest that Howard sort of captured the movement soap opera of that time period when anti-nuclear activists were warning about nuclear meltdown dangers. And during the Karen Silkwood trial, we had a nuclear meltdown at 3 Mile Island. I became an activist trying to bring the truth about the dangers of nuclear power, nuclear weapons, and ionizing radiation to the general public. I actually realized that, gee, the human body is a very complicated mechanism, and radiation can make things go wrong at the cellular level.
Antioxidants. In Cologne last year, I asked Raphael, well, if, you see, 15 to 20% of people who suffer from stroke become unconscious. And dexamethasone will be important because you can inject it right away. It's important to do this right away. These events, both with brain syndrome and with stroke, happen right away. So you've got to get that stuff in right away if you're to do that kind of damage containment. Now, these people in San Diego discovered that cannabidiol and THC do pretty much the same thing. So really, it may have seemed a little mischievous at this conference in Cologne. I said, well, now, Raphael, would it not make sense that instead of rushing the patient to a hospital, let's take the 80 to 85% of people who are not made unconscious by the stroke or the brain syndrome, wouldn't it make better sense for them to smoke a joint right away? And it takes a while to get to a hospital to get into a situation where somebody can get this. But yes, and the short answer to your question is
there's little resemblance to what happens out in the hustings. I'm Dr. Todd Vicaria from California, from Berkeley, California, where we have a different country out there since Health and Safety Code 11362.5 became law back in 1996. Since that time, it's a different country, and we have a different set of problems. Now we have to look to law enforcement and government for appropriate implementation and compliance. It's very much like going to the next corridor up in the Nintendo game of life. Previously there were ignorant people saying things about why it shouldn't be passed. Part of the bureaucracy back here, part of the common, the central...
The common.
Right. December 30th, 1996, Barry McCaffrey and his fellow Covenanters got in front of national TV to whine and to threaten California are faced with. That's another thing that I've learned is all of these conditions are serious and chronic. They're not going away. And they've mostly had very poor experiences with side effects from the conventional medications. inadequate control of the symptoms themselves, plus adding all these terrible, debilitating side effects have made cannabis the drug of choice for them. I just can't get over the comparative safety that cannabis has. By comparison, it's by a quantum amount. With patients freed from toxic side effects of different drugs. You just name one category of drugs, even the ones that are over-the-counter, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories that kill 120,000 a year. The gastritis, the liver problems are definitely not there with cannabis. And cannabis at a very low level, virtually a homeopathic level in some people. This complex of buildings, an edifice complex, as it were, larger than life scale, and it really sends a message to us citizens about how small and inconsequential we are as the target populations out there for their deliberations here in D.C. And this vast bureaucracy, they really toady and kiss up to the Capitol Hill because that's from whence flows all the appropriations. Get hyperbolic or chauvinistic excessively, but what impresses me in interacting with the people back here at the normal conference is the fact that they're still in the cave, and we've moved outside the cave maybe a few feet. But nevertheless, outside the cave, and again, back to this, who do you think you are? And, well, I'm friends with certain key politicians in certain unnamed Bay Area cities. I also contributed to the Bill Lockyer campaign, and I go to the fundraiser events so I can talk to the Attorney General personally, who's committed to obey our new law. And so it's this change of premises of we won, we've got this new law, and how do we then avail ourselves of it? And this totally changes relationships as people make the transition from self-perception as criminals and the representative of government representing something cooperative instead of coercive and intimidating. When we
consider life for 10,000 years, and the thing that brings him down off the mountain that says, I'm saved, is that I gotta spread all this pot with everybody. And so there was another ratcheting up of my commitment to just having shamelessness, to be shameless about marijuana, because this is something I believe in really strongly now. It has saved my life. It's saved many people's lives on occasion. It's just in your head, it enables you to become a happier person. So when I started smoking with the sadhus in the Himalayas for unstoppable lengths of time, we would have big fires and they'd be making hashish with their hands, and then you toss in all the extra pot leaves that are just too shaky to smoke, and just make a big bonfire, and then you make your tea with the marijuana fire, and the whole room's filling up with smoke, and the sheep are coming inside, and they're getting stoned, and they kill the sheep and eat the lamb, and so yeah, it's all very primal for that reason, and it's completely natural for everybody throughout time to have been slightly intoxicated at all times, that we constantly adjust ourselves. We do have coffee, we switch to decaf, take vitamins.
Speak first this way, and then David Boaz is going to say there's a 5-minute break here, and we're all going to go out and have a few puffs and come back, and you can compare yourself. But in the meantime, he asked me to testify at the trial that was coming up. And at dinner, I mentioned to him the first time I got stoned, my kids had always said to me, Dad, you ought to get yourself out of the Baroque and listen to the Beatles. Now, I couldn't help but listen to the Beatles in my house because they were always playing it. And people were always offering Betsy and me marijuana, but because I knew I was going to have to testify, Doctor, have you ever used marijuana? I resisted doing this. And finally one night, after a particularly nasty experience with a senator, I said to Betsy, now is the time, and we didn't get to it. The third time we did, and one of the reasons I knew was that I heard Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band for the first time.